Drivers and Danica, start your engines!
Pull those belts down tight one more time. Warm up those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, NHRA, and local dirt track and drag strip racing talk. This is the fastest hour in radio.
Where'd you go? Where's your home? How'd you end up all alone? Can you hear me now? Hear me.
Here's your host, Steve West and Dustin Harmer, with producer John Myers.
Racing is almost here. In fact, it really is when you stop and think about it, because 24 Hours of Daytona was last weekend. So It is here. But we don't generally follow the Tudor United Sports Car Series, which is what the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona really is. So this time next week, stock cars for NASCAR going to be on the track at Daytona International Speedway as they start to work their way up to the Sprint Unlimited cash grab, qualifying, duels, and then racing. Swing!
Oh, I'm sorry. I drifted off. I was
off in Never Never Land over there.
Yes, I was thinking of racing. I'm so ready.
You should have seen him. He just had this kind of nice, closed eye look with a little grin on his face.
I found my chi.
He was in his happy place.
Oh.
What kind of tree is it?
No, chi. C-H-I.
I know.
A tree? It's a happy tree.
It's a very happy tree.
It's a very, very happy tree.
We're going to make a little happy tree, put a little happy birds over there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Full bloom.
Look at the little clouds.
PBS painting guy.
Bob Ross is the man, okay?
Wow, bad flashback. Hey, welcome into the fastest hour in radio. I'm Steve West. That's Dustin Harmer. That is John Myers. Good morning to you if you're listening on Saturdays or Sundays now, because, hey, replay 8:30 a.m. is when we're there. Saturday evenings, well, we'll give you as much as information as we can possibly give you throughout the course of the show. Yeah. Since we only have an hour of the 90 minutes that we normally do on the other shows.
You can still listen to the show entirety, though.
Absolutely.
You can listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So even if you forget to set that alarm and you miss the greatest racing show in all the land,
absolutely,
you can still find us on YouTube. Simply look up the fastest hour in radio, and you can listen to the show from start to finish, every single one. So if you're busy this morning, you got the honey-do list, you can listen into the show.
Think about it this way. The reason we say this, and we know that there are other racing shows out there. Heck, we used to play one right here on this radio station, NASCAR Live with Eli Gold.
Oh, yes.
Very good show.
Yeah.
Concentrates on NASCAR.
Yes, it does.
Okay. We do have NASCAR.
We do.
All three levels.
All three.
We do IndyCar.
Yes.
We do Formula One.
Yep.
We do Formula E.
Yep.
We do NHRA.
Yep.
Nobody else does that.
We also do
in the country.
And we also do local dirt track racing and local drag racing when that comes into play too.
And nobody else in the country does that.
Yeah, so if you want to stay, up to date, you can't miss the show.
That's right. And we're going to keep you updated because we talk about this seemingly every single year leading up to the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. It is a very prestigious race, and it will bring in people from other forms of racing to go down there and run. And they won't run throughout the rest of the year, but they will run the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and mention it. Drivers and other series getting to join the Tudor United Sports Car Series. Test of endurance, both men and vehicles. This year, especially hard on the cars, several of them, including the defending champion Star Car from Chip Ganassi Racing, fell by the wayside. That car driven by IndyCar stars Scott Dixon and Tony Kanaan, along with NASCAR stars Jamie McMurray and Kyle Larson, suffered a braking issue less than 12 hours in on this particular event. The Michael Shank Racing entry blew its engine while leading. Action Express, all of these teams, by the way, having won the event in the very recent past, they suffered a broken axle with less than 4 hours to go. So lot of attrition for automobiles in this particular run.
I'm going to stop picking a winner for this race.
It's almost impossible to pick one.
It is, but I mean, I really saw the Chip Ganassi team being extremely strong. We knew they were going to be strong.
Well, they
were. But to have a mechanical issue,
yeah,
and 24 straight hours.
Wow. And you're talking 2 to 3 hour stints for the drivers, sometimes the better part of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a long time to go, especially when you're talking about, I don't know, taking over at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
I could do it.
Could do it, but I think I'd rather be in the daylight, personally.
I've done daylight, nighttime. I mean, heck, I made it from here to Maryland in 13 and a half hours straight.
Well, and I get that, and John and I have done similar runs, but we're talking about doing the better part of, 150 miles an hour going through a road course in the dead of night.
No, thank you.
Maybe I was doing 100. Maybe not.
We're not going to say specifically
Yes.
what state or county he was in at the time.
That's right.
In the end, it was a little-known racing team by the name of ESM Racing who had survived with a Brazilian running his very first ever sports car race in the United States. They got the win. ESM Racing got a 26-second victory over little-known Taylor Racing, who placed second, the only other entry on the lead lap after 24 hours of racing in that fastest division. That's Prototype, used to be called Daytona Prototype. Closer racing had in lesser series like GT Le Mans, where two Corvette entries duked it out to the end. With the blessing of Corvette Racing, they, with 30 minutes left, the two drivers gave the two teams the go-ahead to battle it out to the finish. They kept it clean.
Yes, they did.
And drove it to the end.
That was gorgeous.
It was wonderful. And then you got Oliver Gavin edging Antonio Garcia by 3/100ths of a second. That's what we talk about at the end of the Daytona 500.
Oh, yeah.
This is after 24 hours. Their separation was less than a second.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you're watching this race, you see one car come across the line, then several minutes later another car crosses the line. But when you see them
Or in the
coming
case
down,
of the first run,
and they're
26
right there,
seconds.
Oh yeah, you don't see that this year. The racing that we saw for this race was absolutely out of this world.
It really was. GT Daytona class won by Magnus Racing. They wrapped up the 24-hour event. Andy Lally behind the wheel. We've talked about him before, driving an Audi R8. They got the win in that class, and the Prototype Challenge class was run one. But yes, by JDC Miller Motorsports crew. That was a Chevrolet-powered entry. It was kind of a funky-looking little thing. The highly touted Nissan, that little dart-looking thing with the two front wheels that were really, really close.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with having the two front wheels that really close together. It's kind of difficult to turn.
You think?
And they found that out really quick when they had a wreck happen in front of them and they couldn't turn the wheel fast enough and got caught up in the wreck.
These are things you would think about prior to, I don't know, say putting that car on a track.
Otherwise, it was fast. It was actually leading at one point in time.
It was, but then you see the Achilles heel,
Yes.
so to speak.
It doesn't make emergency turns very well.
And you kind of need to do that going that fast
really, really do.
with stability.
Okay, so with that said, now that we know how that all worked out, we need to get into a rather serious bit of information, as has been well documented here on this particular show and radio station. I am a Tony Stewart fan. I have been ever since he was a rookie.
Die Hard. I've seen his collection. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I'm surrounded by Tony.
Three-time Cup Series champion Tony Stewart planning on retiring after the 2016 season, which had me wondering, okay, who am I going to root for come 2017?
Yes.
Well, now I need to worry about whether I get to root for Tony Stewart in 2016. Word came down on Tuesday that the season could be in jeopardy. Now, we're doing this, again, in some chronological order here, so understand that updates that you may have heard, we're going to get to.
Yes.
Here comes the deal as of Tuesday. Reportedly injured in an ATV accident last Sunday, suffering a back injury. Details were sketchy until Thursday, but as of Tuesday, all that had been released by Stewart-Haas Racing was that Tony Stewart could move all his extremities, which is a good sign.
It is, but at the same time, that tells me
This is serious.
This is very serious.
Yes. At that time, there was no word on whether he'd be able to race in the season opener, the Daytona 500. Fox Sports then began reporting on Wednesday that Stewart had been at the Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction last weekend for a time and then went over to San Diego, meeting up with some racing friends. They said friends initially. We'll get to the racing friends part of it in a bit. And he was driving a sand buggy outside of the city of San Diego when either it flipped over or something else happened. More on that in a bit as well. He ended up being airlifted to an unannounced San Diego hospital. Thursday, Stewart-Haas Racing released a statement reading in part, quote, Tony Stewart sustained a burst fracture of the L1 vertebra in an all-terrain vehicle accident Sunday while vacationing on the West Coast. He was transported to a local hospital and promptly evaluated. He flew to North Carolina Tuesday evening and was admitted to a Charlotte area hospital for further evaluation. On Wednesday, he underwent surgery. Now, for Tony Stewart fans, this may be the most upsetting, as the statement concluded, quote, the subsequent recovery period means Stewart will miss the beginning of the Sprint Cup Series season. A timetable for his return has not been determined, but he is expected to make a full recovery and return to the number 14 Chevrolet in 2016. Plans for an interim driver have not been finalized, unquote. Well, the friends that Tony Stewart was with were actually several racers. Those included retired NASCAR stars Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, and Ray Evernham, along with current driver Greg Biffle and a drag racing legend, Don the Snake Prudhomme. Dale Jarrett, 2000 Cup Series champion, he now NBC analyst, said that in talking with Stewart-Haas Racing officials, they believe Stewart's going to be out for at least 3 months, possibly as many as 6 months. During the NBC Sports Network show NASCAR America, Jarrett said of Wednesday's surgery, quote, "The decisions were made not about getting Tony Stewart back in the race car as soon as they possibly could this year. It was about the quality of life 5, 10, 20 years down the road. That's what they wanted the most for Tony Stewart, was to have a great life after all of this is said and done." Now, if you're checking your calendars, should 3 months be the timeline, he could return right around the beginning of May, meaning the Cup Series would be at our other bosses, Talladega Superspeedway, give or take. You heard a different report.
Yes, I heard from the Godfather, Dave Moody.
Godfather.
Yeah, well, the self-proclaimed, I don't know.
Self-proclaimed Godfather, yeah.
Okay. Him and I are not at good terms.
No, but he did have this bit of information,
he did.
So we'll throw it out there.
Yeah, he said late May, mid to late May is what he was saying.
So that would put him around All-Star Race / Coca-Cola 600? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now,
everybody's got their opinion, though.
That's true. Go 6 months out. It means around the beginning of August. Beginning of August would be with the Cup Series going to one of Tony Stewart's better tracks, Watkins Glen. He has 5 wins there in his career as the active driver wins leader in that particular course.
Right.
Either way, here's the deal. Tony Stewart going to have to pull off a Kyle Busch-like performance to get into the chase in 2016 after missing so many races. Plus, he would need to get a NASCAR exemption to make even making the chase somehow possible here.
That's a done deal. That's got to be a done deal. It's got to be a done deal. You know why? This is why it's got to be a done deal. It was done for Kyle Busch. It's going to have to be done for Tony. If you can't do it for one and not the other, it doesn't work that way.
Here's the thing that a lot of other people were saying, and I agree with you. Yeah. I disagree with him, but I'm going to put this out there for conversation's sake.
Okay.
Here was the difference between what Kyle Busch suffered in 2015 and what Tony Stewart suffered here. Kyle Busch was in a racing injury on a NASCAR track. It was the Xfinity Series.
Okay, you're making a point. I see.
Okay, Tony Stewart has been given an exemption before. Broke his leg in the dirt track in 2014. NASCAR gave him an exemption. He was racing. Here, he's recreating. He's out there in some all-terrain vehicle on vacation. That's where they're saying this might be where NASCAR says, you know what? We're not going to give the exemption on that. You went out and you chose to go do that. You know, here's where I kind of stop. So far, in this exemption process, NASCAR hasn't turned down an exemption.
That is true.
So I kind of get the funny feeling they would allow Tony Stewart to do it.
We've detailed quite a few things over the past several weeks that NASCAR has done some stupid moves. Okay.
Yeah.
Caution clock. But if they would basically not allow Tony to get that exemption and not to be in the chase, if he makes it, of course, you know,
yeah,
has to get a
have
win.
To qualify, you have to get a win, have to be in the top 30 in points.
Get your medallion, whatever the case is. So,
yeah. Well, the 14's got a medallion.
Yeah, they do. But if they don't allow him to do that in his last and final season in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series,
fans would cry bloody murder.
There would be such an outcry that it would damage. This could be a make or break damage point for the sport if you do not allow, and for Brian France, if you do not allow Tony Stewart the exemption on track, off track, in space, on ground, whatever the case may be. If he gets that win and gets those points and they don't allow him in the chase, Brian France is making the worst decision thus far. I know they've made some decisions on some things, but this one would be the one to end all.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Okay, so we don't know when. Looking probably more like 3 months because we did get reports. Keep in mind, he only had surgery on Wednesday for a burst vertebra. Mm-hmm. Word is that yesterday, now keep in mind, we're Saturday. Yesterday, Friday, 2 days after the surgery, he was up out of the bed and walking around without a back brace.
And that's another thing. You know, they've made amazing advances in medical technology and everything else where, I mean, my dad just had knee surgery for his messed up knee.
Yeah.
And he was up and moving the next day because he didn't want it to get stiff. The doctors recommended. But it's the great fact with the really non-invasive surgery that they have. I mean, I know they went into his vertebra and everything, but the things that they can do now, you can be healed a lot faster than, say, back in the day. So this is an ultimate opportunity. I'm saying a 3-month time frame. I think with Tony...
Possibly less.
It could be less than that. I think if he can get through the rehab and get things situated, he'll be just fine.
The thing about it is, if you watch NASCAR Media Days, and I know that that's not one of the more popular televised things, but because of what we do, I watched a fairly decent amount of it, and I ended up watching and tuned in at just the proper time to watch the interview that they did with Tony Stewart. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at Tony and I'm going, it looks like he's lost weight.
Yes.
And he later on said, hey, listen, yeah, I've kind of cut down on some of the things that I did. I wanted to get into as good a shape as I could possibly be in for my last year. And he even admitted it to one reporter. I wish I had done this a lot earlier. He admits it. He's lost a lot of weight. He's going through a regular regimen, working out, getting himself into better condition for going into this last year where he really wanted to attack it, and he wanted to go after races like the Daytona 500, which obviously now is out. He wanted to go out and try and win another Brickyard, which that's still possible because he should be back by that point in time.
Right.
Even if it's on the 6 month, that's on the cusp right there. I think he would fight everything he could possibly do to where even if it had to be 6 months out, he would fight to be in that race, which is going to happen in late July. He wants to win the Southern 500 because those are two races, Southern 500, Daytona 500, those are two races that he doesn't have on his mantle, and those are of a very few that he doesn't have on his mantle. So he wanted to attack this year. I think the fact that he actually did concentrate on his physical fitness probably also helped him when it come to going through the surgery. Whereas if this had happened, say, a year ago, he may not have been able to recover quite as fast because even he would admit he was nowhere near the shape physically that he is in now.
Well, and then you brought up a very good point, and we talked about this, through text messaging. Last night or the night before?
Night before, I think.
Was the fact that Tony's going to miss the 500.
Yes.
He's going to be done with Sprint Cup at the end of this season, which means he's going to...
And I will caution you on this. So he says.
So, well, yes, this is a very good point. So he says. So based on...
I don't know whether this is going to change his mind any or not.
But Steve's going to make several phone calls. He's going to make something happen. But if you look at it right now with what
I've got
we
a lot
have...
of pull.
If we have... Yeah, we could make it happen.
Sure.
If you look at what we have right now, information in front of us when it deals with Tony Stewart in the Daytona 500 this year, and what we're looking at him ending the Sprint Cup side at come season's end.
Yeah.
He's going to go into the record books right this moment.
Sure.
He's going to go into the record books as a champion.
3 times.
But he's going to have that asterisk next to his name, and that's going to be never won the Daytona 500.
Yeah. And there are some drivers, just about everybody says he is a surefire Hall of Famer. NASCAR
Definitely.
Hall of Fame.
There is no doubt in my mind.
Mark Martin, I would say Hall of Famer.
Yeah, of course. Mark is definitely Hall of Fame bound.
Both of those two.
Do not have
a Daytona 500.
That's right. So, I mean, and it's really sad because, I mean, we talked about it. We said this is going to be the year. This is going to be the time he goes out there. He's going to get out there into the 500. Somebody's going to push him. People are going to get out of the way. They're going to get him up front where he needs to be contending for that 500. And now it has slipped through the fingers.
Yeah. We have talked about and the reason why is I caution, I say, so he says. There are people that are out there that are clamoring for him to now try and make 2017 his final year. I don't think he would do that.
No.
But there is also the possibility that he could do a one-race deal in 2017.
He could.
In the Daytona 500 because NASCAR does allow exemption. You can't have a 5th full-time car, but you can have a 5th part-time car. Mm-hmm. I think NASCAR would allow him to enter a 5th Stewart-Haas racing car. Got to remember, Clint Boyer's taking over the 14 next year. That's contract. That's signed, sealed, delivered. It's ready to go. That's ironclad.
So he could jump in the 15.
He could jump in the 15. He could jump in another number of whatever he wanted to make it.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't matter what number it is at this point in time. He could make it whatever number he wanted. Mm-hmm. They've got the 4, they've got the 14, they've got the 41, they've got the 10. Heck, he could put in a 0-1.
Yeah.
Okay?
He would have the backing. The sponsors, especially all of his longtime sponsors, would be to jump on board to fund that car.
To just do a one-time run in the Daytona 500.
Boom. But the only sad part about
I don't know whether he would do that or not.
I mean, if we're going to go down that path, and he was to say do that, and he's got the funding and he's got the number and everything, that would be so weird to see all of his accomplishments with the 20 and then into the 14, and then that one thing, say he did go out there, did get sponsored, did run the 500 next year, and won, he would win it in another number.
Yeah, it would be weird. But he wouldn't care.
Oh, heck no.
He'd have that trophy, the Harley Earl trophy, sitting up on his mantle, and he'd be going, did it!
And Steve would have the diecast in a month.
You know it.
Yeah.
As soon as I can possibly get it. All right, so now back to this year and what we do know. For who might take over the number 14 for Stewart while he's out, most reports have Stewart-Haas Racing making that announcement either Monday or Tuesday. We're going to have it up on our Facebook and Twitter pages as soon as we know. We do know also that there is one former champion who could do it, but said that he is not a candidate, and that is one Jeff Gordon. Gordon was one of many racing luminaries out with Tony when the injury occurred, and in describing how he saw the accident when he was on Fox Sports 1 and NASCAR's Race Hub, he was asked if he would consider driving the 14. Gordon said, quote, "If I wasn't in the Fox booth, I would fill in for him, but that is not an option." So he's honoring his contract that he signed with TV.
Bingo.
I respect that. Two others, hashtagged on Twitter, also said that they would not be candidates. That is the aforementioned Mark Martin and Jeff Burton, who said that they were done racing. There are a couple of young guns out there. Brett Moffitt, who we heard about a little bit last year, he finally came into Michael Waltrip Racing. Also, Alex Bowman, who has been shot out of Scott Motorsports in favor of the aforementioned Clint Boyer. They're both looking for rides in 2016. Of course, they said that they would be interested.
I would be interested, too. I mean,
dude,
sign me up.
I don't care what level of NASCAR racing I'm in. If I can get into Stewart-Haas Racing level equipment, which you got to remember, they're getting their stuff from Hendrick Motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
They're building their own chassis, but they're getting their motors and their transmissions from Hendrick Motorsports. That's the elite team in NASCAR.
Yes.
To have a chance, just one chance, to drive Hendrick Motorsports equipment, dude, sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up, too, but I'd probably look like Ricky Bobby going out back onto the track for the first time. And what was that? It was cars going past.
Shake and bake, baby.
That's true, but you know what? I'd have the biggest grin on my face for about 6 months after the fact. Because you drove top-level equipment.
Oh, yeah. Top-level equipment on Daytona.
At Daytona, exactly. All right, the man who is slated to take the number 14 over after Tony does officially retire, Clint Boyer, he does continue to add sponsorship, and this is a good thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Word is main sponsors of Michael Waltrip Racing coming with him, including 5 Hour Energy Drink and Peak, by the way. They're going to be continuing with him at 2016 at the aforementioned Scott Motorsports for 24 of the 36 events. The team went looking to fill in the other sponsor slots. Visine has taken 3 of them, so they got 9 more races. They yet have a confirmed sponsor, but it's better off than what old Harry Scott has been able to figure out before. I mean, granted, he had Justin Allgaier, and Allgaier had Brandt, but that was, I don't think that was quite at the level of money that you would see in this case. We'll use the 5 Hour Energy Drink and the Peak Antifreeze. I don't think they were paying quite that much money.
Now, Brandt was, and this is not knocking Brandt. I'm glad they're part of the sport and everything else, but they just they had the money on that Xfinity level, the lower level, but to have the money that you need for the Sprint Cup level side,
Not an easy thing to do.
It's not easy. That is true, and I don't think that was just enough. But I tell you what, that Visine 15 looks sexy.
Yeah, it's a good-looking car.
It is a good-looking car.
Yep.
Black and blue.
Hopefully you won't be all that black and blue all this year. Chase Elliott's first season in the Sprint Cup Series is going to be fully sponsored now. Hendrick Motorsports has announced that a group called Sun Energy One, it's all one word, by the way, going to be the world's largest privately held solar energy company based out of North Carolina, going to be the primary sponsor on Elliott's number 24 Chevrolet SS this coming season. Going to take 4 races, so all 36 points events and the 2 non-points events, should he qualify for the All-Star race, are covered. Sun Energy One going to have all 4 of their events on the hood come in the second half of the season. A lot of people wonder about this. I'm not going to get overly political here, but we've kind of railed on this whole Cylindra thing.
Cylindra.
Keep in mind, privately owned, privately held solar energy company.
Right.
These guys know how much money they got coming in, know how much money they got going out. They know that they can afford to sponsor Chase Elliott for 4 races as opposed to a Cylindra, which got a bailout from the government and still went under. I don't have a problem with solar energy. If the company can go out there and make it work on their own, I don't want to pay for it.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Next. Team Penske and Bosch, which have forged one of the longest-lasting partnerships in motorsports, set to continue as partners. Team Penske reported on their website earlier this week the two sides signed a multi-year extension to their agreement, Bosch being an associate sponsor on all of Penske's NASCAR, Indycar, and Australian V8 Supercar entries. So they have got quite an investment going on there, but it's the 25th year that the two companies have worked together. I like to see that.
Yes.
You know, I don't care whether you like or don't like the driver or drivers that are involved in it. If you can have a partnership and forge that kind of a partnership agreement where you will stick with them for a quarter century or more, think STP and Richard Petty.
Oh, yeah.
Love to see that stuff.
Lowe's. Look at Lowe's with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. How long has he been in now? 14 years? 2002? 2003? Which one was his rookie year?
I think it was 02. Why am I thinking 02?
Okay, and that sounds about right. So we're working up close to 15 years. This is 14 years together if 2002 was the correct one. You like to hear that stuff.
Look at DuPont. Well, then turned into Axalta, but still stuck with Jeff Gordon.
From 1993 all the way up until he retired.
Yeah,
and they're still a partner with Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, they are.
So you like to see that, especially in this day and age where we're talking about practically every single week. Oh, by the way, driver such and such is not going to be in the car that they were in last week. In this case, we'll use, who are we looking at? Team Penske. In this case, Joey Logano going from the Shell Pennzoil Ford. This week he's going to have the Bosch Ford. Next week he's going to have the Sony Ford or whatever the heck that it is. You know, the days of seeing those long-term sponsorship deals are getting fewer and fewer. We're not seeing those quite anywhere near as much as we used to. Yeah. So it's refreshing to see that this one is going to continue. It
is refreshing. I do agree with you, though. I do like seeing, the different sponsors on the car and everything else. I like seeing everybody taking a piece of the action, so to speak.
But it used to be, 14 years ago when Jimmy Johnson was there, we knew that Jimmy Johnson was in the 48 Lowe's car. We knew that Jeff Gordon was in the number 24 DuPont car. We knew that Tony Stewart was going to be in the number 20 Home Depot car.
Mm-hmm. You could just look around and
it was that way all year long.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see the special paint schemes that they were going to come up with throughout the course of the year, but it was Home Depot or it was Lowe's or it was DuPont. Now it's Mobile One, Bass Pro Shops, Rush Truck Centers.
It keeps you on your toes when you're looking for your car on the track.
And then you get days like we had at Talladega both times last year where not only was Tony Stewart driving a Bass Pro Shops car, but Austin Dillon was driving a Bass Pro Shops car.
We're sitting there looking at the binoculars. Which one?
Okay, wait a minute. That's a Bass Pro Shops car. No, wait a minute. That's the number 3. I'm looking for 14.
14. Oh, there it goes.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we see last fall, not only did Tony have the Bass Pro Shops, didn't Jamie McMurray and Austin Dillon also do it? So we had 3 Bass Pro Shops cars at Talladega.
It was very confusing. They were making us work.
I was going out of my mind. When we come back, we have a vehicle or a drive for Cole Witt, and a guy who has been running the Daytona 500 now for so long is going to be back. So it'll give hope to some of those Tony Stewart fans that Tony might just run a one-off. We'll talk about all that and so much more when we come back.
You're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
The new year is all about starting fresh and with a clean slate. How about this be the year you finally put down cigarettes completely? With Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City, you can do just that. You know you've quit at the end of every cigarette. So let Wild Vapors show you how with vaping. Owners Eddie and Shelley were former smokers themselves. They started Wild Vapors because they knew they wanted to help others lay down cigarettes as well, with their own special brand formula that will help you gradually reduce your nicotine intake to eventually none at all. Their signature formula is mixed in an off-site cleanroom facility with using only the highest quality USP ingredients and leaving out artificial sweeteners and other unnecessary chemicals. Eddie and Shelley have your solution to finally laying down cigarettes. Join the 1,000 others who have found the freedom from smoking with Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City. Give them a call at 256-369-2569 or stop by one of their 2 locations in Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Hello, this is Jay Schiller, 2015 track champion, Talladega Short Track. You are listening to the fastest hour on radio, 101.1 WYDE.
Back to green flag action on the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Welcome back in. Fastest hour in radio rolling on here and talking about a driver who actually, and it seems kind of late in the whole grand scheme of things, but I think they've been working on this one for a while. Talking about Cole Witt, and we talked about him a decent amount last year. It wasn't that he was constantly running up front, but he was at least qualifying for each event and doing a decent job of learning. Now he's going to get a 2016 ride after all. Premium Motorsports announced they've signed him to drive the number 98. Witt, who is now all of 24 years old, going to be going into his third Sprint Cup Series season following a year in which he finished 31st in championship points. Well, not only did he do that last year, but he did that in 2014 as well. So at least he's showing consistency.
Yes, that is a word that we like to toss around a lot.
It's not necessarily good consistency, but it's consistency.
Consistency is better than none.
That's true. Witt going to have Mark Hillman and his crew chief, with NASCAR veteran Scott Eggleston serving as the team manager. Sponsors not yet announced. They said that should be coming up here within the next couple of weeks. Michael Waltrip is going to drive in the 2016 Daytona 500, as he announced on Fox Sports 1's NASCAR Race Hub Thursday, quickly dispelling the notion it would be him in the number 14 subbing for Tony Stewart. Instead, he said he was going to be in one of his old cars, one that was bought by BK Racing's Ron Devine. We detailed that right here on this show last year. Devine bought a whole lot of the stock from the old Michael Waltrip Racing when it went under. Devine going to enter Waltrip in only the Daytona 500 at this point in time. Sponsorship coming from longtime Waltrip sponsor Maxwell House Coffee. He'll be driving the number 83 Toyota Camry.
And probably booed.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Waltrip stated on the show that he would be teaming up with his BK Racing regular drivers, 2015 rookie Matt DiBenedetto and incoming veteran David Reagan. He hopes to use his own experience on restrictor plate tracks, which is not to be overlooked, really. I mean, he does have 3 wins on restrictor plate tracks, which are the only 3 wins of his career. I had to bring it there.
He did.
Well, that said, he hopes to bring that trio to the front. First, they must all qualify, however. BK Racing reportedly has only 2 automatic berths into the season's biggest event through the upcoming charter system, which they say it has not been implemented yet, but in all likelihood will be by the time we get to Daytona.
Really?
That's what they're saying. For the record, as we mentioned, Michael Waltrip in the number 83. David Reagan drives the number 23. DiBenedetto will be in the number 93. Now that we've got all that set aside, Joe Gibbs Racing experiencing some changes at the top levels of management, and this is something I don't think that he really wanted to do, speaking of Joe Gibbs, but this is kind of necessitated because J.D. Gibbs, who had been the president of NASCAR operations for Joe Gibbs Racing, has been undergoing some very serious health issues lately, and because of those circumstances, Joe Gibbs has tapped his other son, Coy, to move over from the motocross team side of Joe Gibbs Racing to become the chief operating officer of Joe Gibbs Racing. JD moves up to become, alongside JGR founder and former Washington Redskins NFL head coach Joe Gibbs, and he'll leave behind the day-to-day activities within the organization. The shakeup continued. Coy's new title of COO meant that the former COO had been pushed aside. That person is Todd Meredith, who announced that he's actually leaving the organization.
Wow.
In addition, since team president position opened up with JD's new title, the former chief marketing officer, Dave Alpern, takes over the title of president. I had the chance, and this was several years ago, just before I started working public address announcer position for Talladega Superspeedway. I was helping out. I was working for free. I was volunteering to do what we termed MRN Light for a radio station out in Talladega.
Okay.
Who shall remain nameless, but still, they're good guys. And I had the opportunity to go through and do some interviews in the garage areas on that weekend, which included ARCA and what is now Xfinity and the Sprint Cup Series. And in the process of going around and talking to people, and it was just catch as catch can. And I just kind of got lucky. Back then, the number 18's crew chief was Steve. His last name just went right out of my head.
I can't think.
God. Anyway, I was able to talk to the number 18 crew chief. I went over and I talked to Chad Canals. I was able to pull him as the 48 was coming through final inspection to get ready to go onto the track for qualifying. And as soon as I started to walk around, I thought, well, everything's just about ready to get done. And I happened to spy J.D. Gibbs, and he was talking with some other people. So I just walked up and I just kind of pointed to the microphone, and he went, yeah, give me a moment. He wanted to finish the conversation. And as soon as he turned, I clicked on there and I said, I've got J.D. Gibbs. And you want to talk about the most open, easy to talk to kind of guy. Sad to hear that he's going through these health problems.
Yeah, definitely sad. I've heard numerous stories, just like that, just like yours, your personal story. He's just a down-to-earth guy. He loves to talk. He loves to chat. He's very open with everybody. Yeah. So it's definitely it's definitely sad to hear that he's gone through what he's gone through. Of course, our thoughts and prayers are with him.
Yeah, and a guy who also my thoughts and prayers were with because he passed away 3 years ago now, Dave McDaniel, who helped me get that particular volunteering position, which got me onto the radar of Talladega Superspeedway. It was interesting because we could all hear each other, and we would just go, and like I said, I've got J.D. Gibbs, and they could tell who it was because they could see a light up in the control room, so they knew that it was me that had picked it up, so they go, okay, well, we're going to go to Steve West, he's got J.D. Gibbs. As soon as I mentioned I've got J.D. Gibbs, Dave came over the system and said, okay, I quit. Because he couldn't get the big names that I happened to be stumbling across at that particular point in time. It was kind of having fun with it.
It's all about where you are. It just happens,
Had a good time with it. Hang on for me, late model Mark. We're going to get to you here in just a second. I got to talk to Margaret first because I just like talking to Margaret.
I love Margaret.
How are you, Margaret?
I'm doing okay. I've had a heart procedure and the heart's beating right again.
Oh, well, that's a good thing. We appreciate you. So you're feeling better, feeling a little stronger?
It doesn't bother me with it fluttering.
Good. Okay, that's the important part. Okay, well, great. Well, yeah, she does have heart, and we appreciate you calling in and letting us know about you. What do you got? What's your thoughts on all the news of the day so far?
Well, I'm real sorry to hear about Tony. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Wow. Man can't seem to catch a break here over the last couple of years.
I know, and I'm like you. He's my favorite, and I don't know what we're going to do after he's not there anymore.
I'll still be watching the 14, and I'll be rooting for Stewart Haas Racing, but it's just not going to be the same.
No, but true. I guess I'll just have to go to Kevin as my son did when he started driving the 29 car several years ago.
Well, you have made one Dustin Harmer quite happy.
That's right. Come to the dark side.
Hey, my child, he has looked for the diecast with the black 29. That was the first race.
Yeah, I have that one.
Oh, well.
It was I'm serious.
He's not going to be giving out his address on the air anytime
I will
soon.
not be, but it's an extremely hard one to find. Just tell him, I'll tell you right now, tell him to go to eBay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, his wife lost her job, so he doesn't have any extra money right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does not help.
Oh, Steve.
Yes,
Michael won 4 races. He won the July race at Daytona one year.
Oh, that's right, too. I forgot about that. So he won 1 at Talladega, 2 Daytona 500s, and then the July. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I apologize. But still, all of his wins came on restrictor plate tracks.
True. But I'm so glad he finally won one. I'm just sorry what happened when he won his first one.
Yeah, he was quite... it's unfortunate that overshadowed his accomplishment. I mean, you think about at that point in time, he'd had the most races started without ever having claimed to win. But unfortunately, the first win that he ever gets is overshadowed by the death of Dale Earnhardt.
And when you see that video with him, he said, "Well, I know Dale's going to be here in a little bit, and he didn't know."
Yeah, until Ken Schrader came up and whispered it in his ear.
Right. You're going to have to change your promo. You say the fastest hour. It's the fastest hour and a half, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're working on that. We're trying to figure out how to work that in.
We're trying to figure out how to rebrand.
Sometime this week, I've been in and out, but I don't think Richard Petty is using the number 9 this year. Isn't whoever...
No, he's not. He's still got the 43, and he's brought back the 44.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it a couple weeks ago when this came to pass. We were thinking, maybe they're going to let Chase get the 9 after he runs the 24 this season.
So the 9 is out there, and Chase, if he wants to, would have the ability to go with the number 9, which is, of course, the number that his dad ran. But at this point in time, we haven't heard any plans for it.
Right. And remember, there's one thing about Mind Your Driver, Steve, that nobody else has done. His championship, he won Winston, he won Nextel, and he won Sprint.
That he did.
Nobody else has ever won those 3. And can you believe when he won in 11, I heard him, some interview, he said, I have this, so-and-so and so-and-so, and nobody else has it.
He does have his name in the record books, no doubt about it, Mark.
Yes. But anyway, we wish him well. And
yes.
Look, it would appear to me, just first thought, is that Elliott Sadler, who's going to be driving for JR Motorsports, will be the one because he has Sprint Cup experience and wins.
Yep, and we've seen that relationship work in the past.
Right, and he's probably a lot taller than Tony, but anyway,
seats can be changed out.
And right, and I just when I heard that Tuesday, I thought, oh my God! And this burst vertebrae thing.
Yeah.
Both networks, NBCSN and Fox 1, they had medical people over there explaining what this burst thing is.
Yeah, painful.
And these fragments can float around and do damage because they're right in front, I think, if I remember right in front of the spinal cord.
Yes.
So, and I had noticed that he had lost weight too, and I'm sure he's probably up because physical therapy. My husband had a hip replacement, and man, they get you up, even though it's most painful.
Yeah. Well, we are happy to hear that you're back on the mend, though. And
Well, I've been listening to you. I just haven't called. The boys been up here and other stuff, and we slept in that week. And,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you a bit.
Take care.
Take care, Margaret, and be careful,
Bye.
okay?
Take care, Margaret.
Thank you. Bye.
Say hi to Curtis for me, okay?
Okay.
Before
I
we get
will.
to Mark, not to back us up on anything, but is Steve Addington who you were referring to?
Yeah, and the name just came to me right there at the end, Steve Addington.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to go and it seemed like I was all Hendrick Motorsports and Stewart Haas Racing at that particular day, but to get him from Joe Gibbs Racing and then to hear Dave McDaniel after all of that day go over the air after I said I had that last name, he goes, oh, okay, I quit. That was just funny.
I can't believe Addington left my mind.
Well, he's been kind of conspicuously absent over the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's kind of been here and there, a little here, a little there.
So I don't know. We'll have to find out later. But in the meantime, late model Mark checking in, and we've got big plans for next week, my friend.
Yes, sir, man. I'm looking forward to coming into the studio and talking some nitro with one of my fellow drag racing experts, the one and only Mrs. Late Model Mark. Who's that should be very fun. So Dustin, wear a helmet, buddy.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm going to come down with a cold.
You know, I heard what you were saying earlier, Dustin, and about Tony Stewart having an asterisk next to his record if he doesn't win the Daytona 500. I couldn't disagree more with that comment.
Okay.
He's had a fine career, even if he doesn't win Daytona or he doesn't win Darlington. I think he has a fine career. I understand where you're coming from. I just respectfully disagree with that. And also I'll say about Tony Stewart's crash, as the missus could tell you next week, I was what they call a dooner. We used to love going riding in the sand dunes in California at Pismo Beach, and where Tony had his little problem with Glamis. And it is quite an exhilarating sport, but there's high danger to it, no question. And we had state-of-the-art sand toys and toy haulers, and I took a pretty good spill in 2006 after 32 years of dooning night and day, and that convinced me I was getting too old, too bald, too fat to be doing it anymore, and we sold all our stuff. So it is really a lot of fun. A lot of, like, for example, Dirt Late Model Hall of Famer Billy Boyer Sr. is a big dooner. He likes to go to Glamis in the off-season when he's not racing his Dirt Late models. And have you guys ever been in these sand dunes on a sand rail before? Or
not on a sand rail, no.
No, it is quite intense, especially at nighttime. But it is unfortunate that Tony got hurt. Some of these sand rails, if you go to YouTube, you can punch up Glamis Thanksgiving 2015 and see these big block Chevrolet twin-turboed mid-engine dune buggies that are just absolutely ballistic. And you can get yourself in a whole lot of trouble real fast. But it's unfortunate for him, and the timing couldn't be worse. But, hopefully he'll be back. And, I would like to see Dustin in that 14 at Daytona. What do you think of the chance to see?
Slim and none, but hey, it'd be kind of fun to watch it.
Hey, I'd have an asterisk next to my name in that event.
What's that, a DNF?
First guy to drive his first race and have a DNF. Well, wait a second, didn't Danica
Did not finish?
Did Danica do that?
No, actually, she finished in her first Daytona 500.
Then I'd have to finish. I couldn't have the asterisk. I couldn't live with that. And I'll tell you what, Mark, and I love when you disagree with me, and especially Mrs. Late Model Mark when I get her all fired up. But I tell you what, if I could, I would not want to see that asterisk next to Tony's name. I mean, you're all right. He's got a stellar career.
Yeah.
Absolutely stellar. It's just that one thing that's just, it's going to be that one thing that eludes him forever. I don't want to see the asterisk. It's just the thought that it's going to be there.
It's the thought
regardless.
that as people stop and they think about a Tony Stewart, they think about a Mark Martin, for example, late model Mark, and they go, well, as many times as he raced in the Daytona 500, he never won it, and Tony Stewart's in that particular position at this point in time.
No, absolutely, it's just one of those things. But overall, looking at the career, you can't blame them at all. But I should be having some news on the Talladega short track schedule here in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
It's being formed right now, and we're probably going to be starting our season somewhere in mid-March. I'll have some news about the tower here for you in a week or so.
Love it.
And I'm looking forward to the racing season getting back going.
We're looking so forward to this.
24 hours of Daytona last Saturday and Sunday. Enjoyed the hell out of that.
Well, speaking of which, by the way, say hello to your wife.
Oh, I will. She's listening right now, and
she's not listening. She's on the phone.
She's on. She's on with us.
Well, she might, but I'm not. Hopefully, she's cooking me a nice scrumptious breakfast for after
That's
my
right. I'm
long
holding it,
morning.
dear. Come on.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna let her talk and listen to her on the radio. We'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, take care. We'll see you in studio next week.
See you, buddy.
And word is, Mrs. Late Model Mark, he's bringing you in too.
Well, that's what I heard. He's asked me a few times, and you know what? I always like to do what my man likes, so I'm going to behave myself and come with him and just, absorb it all, because I would like to see where you guys actually hang and do all this from.
Oh, well, sure. We'd love to have you in studio. Plus, there's the other side of it. We just added the NHRA into our list of things that we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
So we certainly would like to learn from somebody who knows more about the sport than what we do.
There is no more informed than my husband when it comes to drag racing. I got to tell you that, because he's been doing it since, the 60s. But about those dunes, I was a broken neck and back survivor and a 32-plus year rider of quads and three-wheelers. I never got hurt in the dunes, but boy, let some stray Mexican in California run a stop sign. It almost killed me. But anyway, the reason I called was to remind you, not only do you have added drag racing, the only thing you have that no one else has is Late Model Mark.
That's true.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
We've locked him down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He'd never stray. But, he loves you guys. Are you kidding? But anyway, I just wanted to say good morning. Actually, I wanted to move it along because, like I said, I'm trying to hold his breakfast here, and it's difficult sometimes.
I understand.
Yeah.
So send him on home, and love you guys. And next weekend is we're heading that way.
We look forward to it.
Okay. Hold your breath.
It's going to be
though.
exciting.
Oh, no, we're going to have a good time. Come on.
So excited.
Okay, you guys all behave. I promise.
All right, that sounds good. Take care.
God bless. Take care.
Bye-bye. Looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. Again, this is kind of a learning curve for us because I've always I've watched it from time to time. And again, it's all tape delayed stuff, obviously, from when ESPN had it. But it was all tape delayed stuff, and there's only so much you can learn. I'm sorry, Days of Thunder kind of got it wrong. You'd be surprised how much you can learn about stock car racing by watching ESPN. Yeah, according to Tom Cruise,
not really much.
There's only so much you can learn from the NHRA on ESPN, and I apologize for that.
You can learn the color of the car. You can learn the number on the car. The wheels, they go around and they go around the track,
or they go straight down the track. In
or
this
straight
particular
down.
Case.
Yeah.
But I do. I want to learn more about it as we've gone into expanding out our show more and more.
See, I've had a great time. I mean, where I'm from, of course, Maryland, we had the Seas County Dragway.
Mm-hmm.
So it was every weekend you were hanging out at the Seas County Dragway,
Sure.
just watching all the local stuff going on. It was always a great time.
Well, and John and I, we both done bracket racing.
Oh, you guys have?
Oh yeah. Over by Hagerstown, as a matter of fact.
I can. I have a Jeep.
Well, you could.
Yeah, you could.
I like
you have
my
one
Jeep.
severe handicap.
I just don't want to hurt it.
You just have a severe handicap. That's all.
But I mean, it's always a great time, and I would love to get a chance to go see some of the Top Fuel and everything like that. And I know family members of mine have gotten a chance to go see it, and I've seen some videos, and it looks wild. I just really would love to go see it.
And now we're getting a little bit more and more into it, and it's the learning curve hopefully will be accelerated for us.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of curves, let's get back into talking about stock cars because we left off at the end of Sprint Cup Series news. Over to the Xfinity Series and back to Joe Gibbs Racing as they kick off the season. 2 cars, full-time drivers, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez specifically. But the number 18 Toyota Camry is going to have a series of drivers behind the wheel. That includes, at times, Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin. But for 13 of those events, it's going to be a kid by the name of Matt Tifft.
Mm-hmm.
Tifft is a 19-year-old driver who has a scant 16 starts in the Camping World Truck Series and Xfinity Series of NASCAR over the past 2 years. His first event in a Joe Gibbs Racing car, April the 23rd. At Richmond. We'll find out how good the kid is.
Did we get a chance to see him in action at Talladega?
Recently, yes.
We did.
ARCA last year, I think.
I think it was
Or was he
ARCA?
Camping World Truck Series last year, too?
I need to look into that, but I remember us
remember
talking
the name,
about
but
him.
I can't remember whether it was ARCA or Camping World Truck Series last year.
Yeah, I do remember the name, though.
Yeah. Commander Motorsports Marketing. This is kind of a new team, otherwise known as CM2. They've announced the signing of the seemingly ageless Morgan Shepherd. He will run in 2016. Shepherd, now 74 years old, said his passion for racing has not diminished despite his age and lack of upper-end equipment, but he cautioned that he likely will not be driving the entire season. He told media that his number of events is going to be based upon sponsorship availability. He will be running in the Xfinity Series season opener at Daytona, and that will mark Shepherd's 97th race at Daytona International Speedway.
That is so cool.
Good luck
story.
to him. Good luck to him.
It's one of those things, he's not going to have a chance, but you're still kind of like, man,
you kind of root
go
for him.
Morgan Shepherd.
At this point in time, I would just like to see him be able to run the whole thing. It seems like lately, just about every time I've seen Morgan Shepherd on the track, we see him leaving the track shortly after beginning.
Yeah, having an issue
I'd
or
love
a
to
start
see him
and
finish.
park. It'd be great to see him get a chance.
Absolutely. GMS Racing announcing they're going to enter one of their Camping World Truck Series drivers, Spencer Gallagher, into selected 2016 Xfinity Series events. Noted that they're going to be a part-time single-car organization for the Xfinity Series this season. Gallagher going to get his first time behind the wheel at Phoenix International Raceway in mid-March. Going to be driving the number 21 Chevrolet Camaro. Not known how many events GMS Racing is going to enter in Xfinity Series racing. GMS Racing has Gallagher along with Johnny Sauter and Grant Enfinger driving for them in the Camping World Truck Series. BJ McLeod Racing. Who?
What?
BJ McLeod Racing has announced they're going to enter 2 full-time cars into this year's Xfinity Series grid as well. McLeod is going to step into it from a super late model racing background in Wakulla, Florida. He's going to move up into NASCAR with Ford Mustangs bearing the number 78, McLeod's car, and the number 99, which will feature, as he says, a series of drivers. The cars that McLeod Racing bought are from Roush Fenway Racing, which has come to a partnership agreement with Roush Fenway as well. Neither sponsorship nor the list of drivers for the 99 that McLeod will work from have been announced. This is a big step. This is a guy who, he's going from local racing. Think of, I don't know, who have we had here? Jay Schiller, the guy that you just heard of bringing us back from our last commercial break. Think of Jay Schiller going from crate late models or super late models at Talladega Short Track and then going to Talladega Super Speedway.
Yeah, that's a huge step. They have been apparently getting themselves prepped up, though. I mean, not just one car, but 2 cars.
Not 2.
Partnership with Roush Fenway.
And feels confident enough that he can run them both full-time, which means he's got some sponsorship somewhere. He's just not announced it yet.
It's one of the things we haven't been able to hear about, but they look like the real deal.
Apparently.
Now, hopefully that can transfer onto the track with some great track.
Like to see that.
Action.
For selected NASCAR Xfinity Series events the first half of the season, while Fox Sports has the television rights, Fox Sports has announced they will employ a number of Sprint Cup drivers to help provide television commentary. Among them, 2014 Sprint Cup Series champion Kevin Harvick. Harvick called 3 races in 2015 for the network, sharing time last year with the now full-time commentator Jeff Gordon. Of course, officially retired from Sprint Cup Series racing. Danica Patrick, Clint Boyer, and Brad Keselowski also got a couple of races behind the microphone. Fox Sports right now is only named Harvick for 2016. We'll find out who the other drivers will be shortly. 2015 Rookie of the Year candidate Cameron Haley going to be back in the Camping World Truck Series in 2016, driving the same truck as in 2015. The number 13 Toyota Tundra going to once again be Haley's office. He and ThorSport Racing came to an agreement for him to drive it earlier this week. Sponsorship from the Haley family company, Canadian-based Cabinets by Haley. Haley performed quite well. He finished 6th in final standings, got 4 top 5 finishes, 13 top 10 results. He will join quite the crowded ThorSport Racing stable. Ben Rhodes, Matt Crafton, of course, is a 2-time series champion. In 2016, Rookie of the Year candidate Rico Abreu as ThorSport Racing drivers. That's 4 guys competing for time, equipment, and attention.
KBM's got the same thing going on with 4 drivers as well.
Whew.
So I mean, but you know what? It's great. Other than the caution clock going to be affecting them, we're going to see one heck of a 2016 Camping World Truck Series season.
I think so.
I mean, they've got a lot pumped into this right now.
They do. Now in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Wendell Scott, the guy who we championed from the beginning of the NASCAR Hall of Fame until they finally inducted him, is going to get animated.
Animated?
Yeah. The late racer, the first, and to this point the only black driver to win a race at NASCAR's top level, is the subject of an animated short film chronicling his life. February being Black History Month, the short, which is entitled Driven, debuted last Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It will be shown several times each and every day through at least the month of February, and if it proves to be quite popular, they'll probably keep it around. Audio featured in the short feature comes from interviews with Scott himself and all done, by the way, by Scott's grandson, Warwick. He's the executive director of the Wendell Scott Foundation. Sat down, interviewed his father, found old archive footage as well, all done recently in the Danville, Virginia home of Frank Scott. You can also see the video online through the company that produced the video. It's called StoryCorps, StoryCorps.org, StoryCorps.org.
I will have to check that out, and I suggest everybody does.
Absolutely. An inn that housed many NASCAR and Indycar drivers when those series came into Pocono has burned down. The Blakesley Inn in Tobyhanna Township, Pennsylvania. I think I got that right.
Yes.
Owned by the same family as the Pocono Raceway, the Mattiolis. It caught fire Thursday, required 4 different fire departments from 4 separate counties to come in and extinguish it. Reports have about 60 to 70% of the building being damaged from a fire thought to have begun in the kitchen area. The inn will not be ready for the 2016 season, whether they can refurbish it or whether they have to knock it down and rebuild it. Word is that they plan to bring the inn back because, again, you look at that area there, and yes, it's a popular area, but that particular inn was very popular among the drivers and the teams.
It was. It's one of those things, you get used to going to one place when you visit somewhere and you feel comfortable and you feel at home. That was Tobyhanna.
Yeah, so it's sad to say, but they're unfortunately done. Verizon IndyCar Series news as we make the switch over to open wheel racing. They have now got a former Formula One driver coming in to compete in the IndyCar Series on a full-time basis this year. It's Max Chilton. He's going to be taking over the Chip Ganassi number 8 Chevrolet-powered entry, split last year between Sage Karam and Sebastian Saavedra. He joins a powerful lineup. Talk about powerful lineups. He's got defending series champion Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Charlie Kimball, and now Max Chilton. So Max Chilton, who has a learning curve coming from Formula One to what happens in IndyCar, because now he goes oval racing for the first time. Max Chilton has some guys who, let's face it, they know how to get around in the IndyCar series.
Yes, they do.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
The new year is all about starting fresh and with a clean slate. How about this be the year you finally put down cigarettes completely? With Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City, you can do just that. You know you've quit at the end of every cigarette. So let Wild Vapors show you how with vaping. Owners Eddie and Shelley were former smokers themselves. They started Wild Vapors because they knew they wanted to help others lay down cigarettes as well, with their own special brand formula that will help you gradually reduce your nicotine intake to eventually none at all. Their signature formula is mixed in an off-site cleanroom facility with using only the highest quality USP ingredients and leaving out artificial sweeteners and other unnecessary chemicals. Eddie and Shelley have your solution to finally laying down cigarettes. Join the 1,000 others who have found the freedom from smoking with Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City. Give them a call at 256-369-2569 or stop by one of their 2 locations in Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
I am Garrett Lloyd, and you're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.1 WYDE.
The only show that covers NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One. The fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Welcome back in. You are listening to the fastest hour in radio here at Superstation 101 WYDE. Slight technical problems. John all over it as much as he can possibly be.
Yes, he is.
So we thank him for being there. That's why we have him in as the producer of the show.
Yeah.
We were talking about Max Chilton when we left. Going to be taking over the Chip Ganassi number 8 Chevy-powered entry, split between Sage Karam and Sebastian Saavedra. He's likely best known for driving the then Marussia car back in 2013 and 14. During his time there, he claimed a best race finish of 13. Twice in 35 starts, drove in the Indy Lights series last year for Carlin Motorsport, claimed to win at Iowa Speedway, got 3 pole positions, finished 5th in season-ending points in his rookie year. So claiming a win at Iowa in his first year in the Indy series, Indy Lights in this case, and one of the first times that I think that he had been on ovals in an open-wheel car, kid might actually have something going for him.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
Only time will tell.
Yes. Honda and the Verizon IndyCar Series officials have come to an agreement that will keep the Japanese auto company providing engines to teams in the series through at least 2017. The company, Honda, has an option for another 3 years after that. Honda Performance Development President Art St. Cyr released news on Tuesday, said that the company is redoubling its efforts to get back on top of the IndyCar world. They've seen Chevrolet dominate since Chevy returned to IndyCar back in 2012. During Honda's 20 years as an engine provider, they won 217 races, but since Chevrolet rejoined the series as an engine provider, Honda's been trying to play catch-up. For example, 16 races last year, Chevy won all 16 pole positions along with 11 of the 16 races. Good grief. Honda and IndyCar officials agreed that there is a discrepancy between Chevrolet and Honda. They've been working together within the rules to make those engines more competitive. Mark Miles, CEO of IndyCar's parent company, Holman & Company, said that in his talks with Honda, and he will be talking with Chevrolet, about the possibility of adding a third engine provider. My guess would be Toyota.
That's the only one I can think of right now, like as we're sitting here today.
Yeah. I mean, outside possibility of Ford, but I kind of doubt it. And I don't know about Fiat Chrysler kind of coming back with a Mopar engine. It'd be nice to see one of the other American makes come back in, but I don't think that that's going to be the one.
I think it's going to be Toyota because they're going to want to get more reach as well.
Yeah, Miles said these words, quote, another competitor, another storyline, another investor to help promote the sport would be good. It's very difficult to get done. At this time, no company has expressed an interest into getting into IndyCar racing, but should one come along, provisions within Honda's deal would allow a third engine maker and would also give Honda some flexibility for their engine should it happen. So, in other words, they could actually work on it without experiencing penalties from Indy officials.
Toyota does an outstanding job, too.
They do.
I mean, we all know I'm a Chevy guy.
Sure.
But Toyota does an outstanding job when they get invested into something. They do extremely well. They got a lot of great promotional stuff. They really put it out there. They would be really good for the sport.
Yeah, although they did try and failed to get into Formula One, but
okay, well that's
maybe
where
they
you skip
lessons
from step 1 to step 20.
Yeah, maybe they learned some lessons from that
right
particular situation.
I think they do extremely well in IndyCar.
You're probably right. Officials within the Indianapolis Motor Speedway took some time out over the past week to present the man known as Spider-Man within IndyCar ranks with a piece of the old Speedway's catch fence. Elio Castroneves had made it a ritual with winning the Indy 500 and then climbing the fence near the start-finish line. He did that 3 times. He's hoping to do it for a record-tying 4th time this season. Officials replaced the fence all the way around the 2.5-mile rectangular track as part of a major Speedway facelift. Tuesday, track president J. Douglas Bowles was able to present Castroneves with a commemorative piece of the old fence taken from an area where he had been climbing the fence those 3 times. Castroneves told the media, quote, "I'm speechless. This is such a special gift. It's where it all started for me. It's cool, incredible, it's priceless." And for him, it is.
Yes, extremely.
He also took time on Wednesday to assist in attaching a new section of the fencing, which he says he hopes to climb in May, which tells me that he was probably on a ladder when he attached it. Darn. Come on, climb the fence and then attach it.
Yeah, be a man.
Live a little. Congratulations going out to Marco Andretti. Recently announced he's engaged. Popped the question to longtime girlfriend Marta Krupa. She's a Poland native and a model. Andretti announced via his Twitter account that he had popped the question and that she had responded with a yes, but not announced a wedding date. It appears it won't be until after the 2016 season, which gets underway on March the 13th. You had something to say?
Nothing. I had nothing. Moving on.
Come on.
No, I was thinking, hey, I was at first, I was like, don't do it. And then it was like, I'm native, Polish girl's pretty attractive. And a model. Ding, go for it.
Yeah, have fun.
Sign the deal, man.
Alex Wirtz, who's head of the Formula One Grand Prix Drivers Association, said that the sport's set to go forward with the Halo solution to protect the drivers beginning in 2017 for Formula One. Rumors out of the last meeting, which took place in both London and then Milan over the past week or so, had team officials less than certain as to how to protect the drivers' heads in the wakes of the deaths of not only Jules Bianchi in Formula One from a wreck that happened in 2014, but also Justin Wilson in IndyCar late last year. Wirtz, though, is confident that it is going to be the Halo, said, quote, obviously the drivers are happy that the technical team representatives agreed for the additional head protection to come in for 2017 following the driver's recommendation and FIA research. Also pushed for in those meetings was the better cornering tires for 2017, working with Pirelli. Formula One seeking to up the speeds next season. Pirelli officials and drivers were both invited to the meetings. They both had the chance to discuss the impact of the bigger tires. They're going to have a bigger footprint out there on the track as to what it would do for safety and speed. Now, this brings in the obviousness. FIA is kind of over a lot of different series, and they have recognized that IndyCar can be a feeder, so to speak, into Formula One because they're both similar vehicles.
Right.
In the end, would IndyCar use the Halo as well? It's a question that was posed to IndyCar driver James Hinchcliffe, said likely not, and he foresees something more like the jet fighter canopy that Formula One seems to now have ruled out, and something that you and I talked about here. He said if the Halo option for IndyCar probably would not work as well as it would for Formula One due to the high-banked ovals that his series races on, and therefore limiting over a little too much their visibility, because not only at that point in time, if you're ever been out at Talladega Superspeedway and you get yourself in a driver's seat and you're going up on the high banks at either end of the track, you realize not only are you looking straight out the windshield, you're actually kind of looking up at the top of the windshield to see what's up ahead of you.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do on banking. The Halo kind of keeps you from being able to do that, and they go to places like Texas Motor Speedway, Pocono, which that turn one on that triangle is pretty well banked as well. So, yeah, I see where he's coming from. The Halo really doesn't work for them.
No, it doesn't. The Halo is going to work extremely well for Formula One. I think that was the one we discussed.
Fairly flat, all road courses or street courses.
And I think that was the one we were talking about last week was the Halo version.
Yes.
And we were describing it to those that were wanting to know a little bit more about it. But you're right. When it comes to, the difference between Formula One and with that and IndyCar, you got to have a better option. And
right.
the canopy would be the best, but it's going to have to be a really, really neat type of design.
It's going to have to be very interesting. Hinchcliffe addressed that, said it's easy to throw a canopy on a car, but there are 100 other things that you have to look at as well. Mark Miles, IndyCar's boss, said that it's not going to happen either this or in all likelihood next year either, saying, quote, "We are confident that it can be developed."
Well, there's another thing you could look at too, and this would be just another option. They could use the Halo system when they're not on the bank tracks, but then have a different type of system when they are on a banked.
Yeah, it's worth a shot, but do you want to try and do two different systems?
That's the only problem.
That might even be a little bit more of a cost issue in addition.
It would be.
So we'll have to find out. All right, Pastor, well, first of things first, and then I want to take a moment after this to mention a great sponsor here for us here at the Fastest Hour in Radio. But first of all, Formula One using a token system among different engine providers that will allow them to work on their power plants, but also keep them from getting too far ahead of their competitors. It's a plan that is set to end the token system after the season. In exchange for Ferrari, Mercedes, Renault, and Honda building and making less expensive engines available to teams who want and or need them, Formula One officials are taking the reins off development of the turbo V6 engines, but they're going to keep the limit on the number of engines that any one driver can use in a racing season. Penalties for those who go over the limit, they say, will actually be more severe than what we've seen in the past. They were talking about 5 to 10 grid spots as far as qualifying. Say you qualified 5th, but you're on over your engine limit and you changed engines again. The first time around it was, I think, 5 grid spots, and then the second time you changed above your limit, it was 10. Now it could be something more like points. Ooh. Or it could be it could be something worse. It could be major money. And money in Formula One, as we know, huge.
Yeah, and not just that, but I mean, if you look at the fact of they're really going to be on their engine builders at that point.
Sure.
They're really going to have to be on them, or they're going to have to figure something out in the R&D department between the driver, maybe the driver issue with the engine, or maybe it's the engine itself. But that's going to put a lot of pressure on the engine builders, big time.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of R&D, a lot of research and development has gone into how to figure out how to get people from smoking, how to get them to lay off the cigarettes.
Oh, yes.
A lot of R&D, and the guys that we know so well that have been great sponsors here for us now for going on 5 months.
Yes.
Called White Vipers. They've done a lot of research on their own, and they have come up with stuff that separates themselves out from all those big box stores that are just out there to take your money.
That's right. And that's the one thing we talk about it all the time. And you bring up a really good point about research and development. You know, Shelley and Eddie Bowman at Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City have done an outstanding job sitting there, going through, having to look up everything that deals with whatever it means with vaping. It would be juice, the mods, the equipment. Eddie and Shelley have done an outstanding job getting the facts right, making sure they look into everything, making sure they know what they are selling. They themselves are former smokers. They were looking for the option for them to quit smoking. A lot of us out there, I know there's somebody out there listening right now that has had an extremely hard time trying to find that way to kick that habit. You've tried everything. You've tried gums, you've tried patches, you've tried it all, and nothing seems to work. Well, let me tell you, folks, I was able to lay the cigarettes down and pick up the vape the same day, and I haven't looked back since, and it's the one thing that has worked for me. And not only has it worked for me on so many different levels, but I mean, I've got my smells back, my taste back, and that's the thing a lot of smokers look for, is the fact that they just really don't like the way the things taste or smell anymore. You, too, can put those cigarettes down and pick up a vape today by visiting Wild Vapors in Alexander City and Sylacauga today. Go in there, pick their brains, talk to them a little bit. You will walk out of there with more information than you can even fathom. All you got to do is give them a call today as well. 256-369-2569, or hit them up on Facebook, facebook.com/wild.vapors.5. Call them, visit them. Stop in the store in the Walmart shopping center in Sylacauga, or down in the Victory gas station right off to the left of that. You'll find the other shop down there in Alexander City. But go in there. They've got some great stuff. They've got a lot of great new products coming out, and you will not be disappointed. And it's the best way. Valentine's Day is coming up. We told you last week, stop kissing an ashtray. Throw those cigarettes away.
Show your love for your other half. Set those cigarettes down.
Yeah, with Wild Vapors.
A guy who's trying to figure out what his future is going to be is Pastor Maldonado. Not going to be driving in Formula One this coming year. Renault, as we reported here on the show last week, readying Kevin Magnussen to take over the seat. Maldonado had held over the past 2 years. His position had been in doubt since his primary sponsor, PDVA, the Venezuelan state-owned oil company. They've been attempting to reorganize since the major drop in oil prices around the world. PDVA was sponsoring Maldonado, a Venezuelan native, to keep the country's flag flying on the international stage. Maldonado said on his personal Twitter account Monday morning, quote, "Today, with the utmost humility, I inform you that I will not be present on the starting grid for the 2016 Formula One season. Thanks for all your messages of support, passion, and concern for my future. I feel very honored by the support of all of you and proud of my professional performance. I'm very thankful to God, my family, my sponsors, my friends, my fans, and everybody who has helped me realize this dream of representing Venezuela in the pinnacle of motorsport." Now, his name immediately began to be linked with a ride over at Manor for the upcoming year, but his manager said not going to happen this season. Maldonado, meanwhile, is aiming to get back into a seat in 2017. Manor's one of the few Formula One teams yet to confirm their driver lineup, but Maldonado's manager said of that, quote, "Manor, not really an option. After 5 years at Williams and Lotus, with all due respect to Manor, it makes no sense for Pastor." I got news for you. Manor, what we used to call Manor Marussia, now Manor Racing, they've really stepped up their game this year, at least as far as the personnel is concerned.
Yes, they have.
I think overlooking them might be a mistake on the part of one Pastor Maldonado.
I think it's going to be an extreme mistake.
We'll find out.
It's going to happen.
They needed something over there.
They did.
They've got an infusion at Manor now. They got rid of their two guys that founded the team back in 2010, but they were floundering ever since. Those guys have since started a world endurance car entry for the 24-hour Le Mans.
Went to minor leagues.
Good luck. But what they've brought in, what the new organization's management has brought in here, which is former development people from Ferrari and Mercedes and these big-name teams that have gone on and experienced a whole lot of success, Manor's bringing those people in. I get the funny feeling somewhere down the line it's got to show benefits for them.
It has to. And it's not that it has to. It is a certainty. It must.
Yes. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves pretty much on the way out, because now you've got a team like a Haas F1 team that's coming in. You've got other teams that realize, hey, we need to step it up as well. They've seen what Williams has been able to do, and they put themselves up into the upper echelon again of Formula One racing. And we need to do that. Sahara Force India, Sauber, they know they need to do that. Haas F1 is saying, hey, listen, we're looking at scoring points this year. We'd like to see at least one of our cars one of these days up on the podium this coming year.
Yeah.
Manor has had one top 10 finish in their entire history going back to 2010.
And we sat there and we actually called them out on the show a little bit too. We said that, if you even think of trying to go the right path. You've got to take the proper steps. The steps are there, but you got to keep following the steps.
Absolutely. Back to Renault, where his now former teammate Jolyon Palmer is entering his first season in Formula One racing. He hadn't chosen what number he was going to race under until he announced last Sunday he was going to go with the number 30. It's the number he's now going to keep until his racing days in Formula One are over, according to Formula One rules. Last year, when he was a reserve driver for the then Lotus team, Formula One assigned him the number 30. Palmer just decided to keep it. So apparently Palmer doesn't have a favorite number, or else some other driver had the favorite number, so he just said, they gave me number 30, I'll take it, I'll keep it.
Maybe it's the first thing available.
That's also possible. Renault then officially launched their new team with the driver reveal on Wednesday, showed off a black race car with yellow highlights and the Renault name and logo on the side with the affiliated company, Xfinity, and that logo up on the engine cover. Racing headquarters going to be located just outside of Paris, France, the home of the company itself. Palmer and, as expected, Kevin Magnussen were revealed as the 2016 driver team. Officials within the company said that the black and yellow look, just kind of a quick paint job. When they arrive in Australia for the season opener, the racer's going to be sporting a different color scheme, but they wouldn't give us a preview of it, so we still don't know what the car's going to look like.
You know what happened? Somebody didn't get to see the cars, and they brought the cars out, and the guy said, "That's ugly. We got to do something." Look, tell those people these are not the colors of the cars. We're fixing this.
Yeah, really. Renault also announced that the race team would officially be known as Renault Sport F1. They cautioned against expecting too much in 2016, said that while they have been in the sport for a long time, they have not actually owned a works team since 2010 when they sold the operation that eventually became Lotus, the same organization they just bought back, which we've detailed many times. Renault officials stated that it could take as many as 3 years just to return to the front, as they did find their way up onto the podium with more than just their engines. So I don't know. We'll find out whether they can actually accelerate that. Sahara Force India, looking to their future, they have signed a development driver who's going to have to wait at least 2 years before he gets his chance behind the wheel. Nikita Mazepin, whatever. He's a 16-year-old Russian who caught the attention of organization officials and will become part of the company's build-up of a development program. Back in 2014, when he was the ripe old age of 14, Mazepin claimed second in the FAA's World Karting Championship. Last year, claimed a top 3 finish in his first year in the Formula Renault 2.0 series. He's still going to run in some feeder series this year, but again, he's in a development program for Sahara Force India. This year running in the Formula 3 Euro series. He's also going to run in something called high-tech racing. Now, the reason why it's going to take him a couple more years is last year, Formula One passed a regulation that for the first time in series history instituted a minimum age, 18. The rule was passed after Toro Rosso signed Max Verstappen to a Formula One deal at the ripe old age of 17. That allowed him to compete at the top level, but it keeps drivers of Mazepin out until such time as they can get their driver's license for the road, which for most European countries, that minimum age is 18 in order to get one. Former Ferrari CEO Luca Di Montezemolo,
you almost had it. It was
Montezemolo has created created some controversy with his recent comments on former Ferrari driver and 7-time Formula One champion Michael Schumacher. So for Colt Reese at a little bit of R&R barbecue, here's your Michael Schumacher update. The former CEO of Ferrari, Luca, pushed out last year, talked to an Italian newspaper Thursday, said about Schumacher, quote, "I'm always checking up on him, and unfortunately the news isn't good. He was a great driver. We shared a great personal and professional relationship. We also had the pleasure of having our children at similar times. Unfortunately, a fall while skiing, an accident, has broken him." Now, there's no word yet from Schumacher's manager. Schumacher's manager has really been the only one releasing information about him directly. And Sabine Kem, just a few months ago, was actually put in a position of having to deny reports of Schumacher's racing or serious condition, at the same time requesting that the media stop speculating on the condition of Schumacher. Details of this, if you had forgotten or the first time you've heard this, Schumacher was injured very seriously in a skiing accident just after Christmas of 2013. Hard to believe it was that long ago. Luca Di Montezemolo now added about the all-time racing great, again, 7-time Formula One champion, quote, "Life is really strange. He was the most successful driver with Ferrari, had a single serious accident in his career in 1999. That was our fault as Ferraris, not his." So, you know, to think about, you go through one of the most dangerous things that you can possibly do. You have the all-time Grand Prix wins title. You are the 7-time Formula One Series drivers champion. You had one serious accident in your entire career. You go skiing with the family, and you have a serious accident that causes this.
We just talked about it earlier this show. We talked about Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
He goes out there and does dangerous job, every Sunday, 36-point races. And then he goes out there and
having fun in a sand rail.
Having fun in a sand rail, or having fun on a in the dirt track.
In the World of Outlaws or whatever it is.
It can happen anywhere, and that's the thing. These guys they're not imperviable. I mean, they're just like us.
Yeah, exactly. Word out, Silverstone Course out of Britain said they may not be able to afford to host the annual British Grand Prix much longer. Speculation surrounds an expanded London street course built upon the FIA Formula E course. The idea has been bandied about for a few years, according to a report on AutoWeek.com, and there is legislation that was set to be debated in the British legislature in the upcoming session that would allow city councils to close certain streets for motor racing activities. One proposed idea would have a course of about 14 turns, undetermined length at this time, that would have Buckingham Palace, Trafalgar Square, and Piccadilly Circus, for example, as backdrops. In the NHRA, Jim Dunn Racing has announced that the Alberto Beef Jerky Group is going to be a primary sponsor of their funny car efforts for 2016. Alberto going to be on the hood and the sides of the 2016 Dodge Charger beginning in the season opener in California for 10 events in 2016 total. Going to be a major associate sponsor for the other events. John Hale is the driver of that funny car. Another sponsor announcement, this one from Bob Vandergriff Racing. Their Top Fuel Dragster program going to be sponsored by Fire Aid. They're an associate sponsor for the entire 2016 season. They may get some time on the hood. I do not know. They will join up to sponsor Leia Pritchett, who moves over to Bob Vandergriff Racing for the 2016 season. Also Pritchett's first full year in Top Fuel. She finished 14th in points on a part-time 2015 role, ran 16 of the season's 24 events last year. Fire Aid, known for their fire extinguishers and other fire retardant equipment for the home and the office. NHRA has announced a new live streaming subscription for fans to have access to all 2016 events. All internet-connected devices are going to have the ability to log in. They will give the fans the chance to see all of the Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series events this year. It's entitled NHRA All Access. It will cover all of the pro and most of the sportsman races as well, beginning with Friday qualifying events going all the way through Sunday's finals. That will include audio from the track announcers. Video will come from the trackside big screen displays, which they will tap into. It will allow fans the ability to kind of experience the activities as if they happen to be in the stands at that particular event. NHRA All Access is available around the world for an annual fee of $99 or the equivalent of whatever monetary value you happen to use in whatever home country you happen to be in.
That's true, too.
Because we are heard all around the world.
Yeah, well, this is a great thing. I mean, it works out very well for NASCAR with Race Buddy. So this is going to be basically the Race Buddy for NHRA. It's a great thing. It gives you a chance, like you said, you might be at home, but you can still feel like you're there, minus the fact that you will not be wearing headphones.
That's true. And there is racing this weekend.
Yes.
As the FIA Formula E Series gets underway, they're going to run down in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The Buenos Aires E-Prix in Argentina takes place on a street course, 1.54 miles long. It seems extremely short, but again, remember, this is a street course, so it has 12 turns. Race coverage on Fox Sports 2. Qualifying this afternoon, Saturday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Central Time. Race coverage tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. And just before the race, Fox Sports 2 also has a 30-minute special about the racing series. It's entitled Formula E, the Sound of the Future, talking about the series' inception up until now.
I like it. How'd that? What was that?
The sound.
Yeah, that sound. The sound. It was like
that high pitched.
No, you were talking, and all of a sudden it was sound like Peter Griffin.
Yeah, really. I mean, there is no sound.
There is no sound
unless they happen to squeal the tires.
That's right.
Otherwise, you get this high pitched whine.
Or somebody wrecks.
Yeah, really.
Or somebody sneezes or coughs in the stands.
Exactly. I mean, there's no sound from the cars other than the squeal of the tires and this high-pitched hum, whine. I don't know, however you want to term it. But it's somehow oddly intriguing at the same time because of the things that they have to go through. Obviously, you can't do a refueling. It's an all-electric car racing series.
Yes.
So you have no refueling.
No.
But at the same time, you think about how you're going to go from one car to the other. These are hour-long, timed-out races, and the car will only make it for about 30 minutes. And in that process, you got to figure out, okay, now what are we going to do? Well, it turns out that for these 10 teams and their 2 drivers each. In this case, it's 9 because one team backed out of racing for the year. So, okay, you have 18 drivers. They're bringing 36 cars.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like, hey, you get into a wreck, we go to the backup car. You go to a wreck and you mess up one car, man, you're pretty much out of it.
You're done.
Okay?
That's it. It's over.
Because instead of pitting and refueling, you now pit, the driver jumps out of car 1 and over to car 2 to finish the race.
Yeah.
I mean, the machinations of a pit stop are so weird. You don't have to change tires.
Nope.
You don't have to add gasoline. You don't have to do any of that stuff. All you do is you change cars.
Is that considered racing still?
They do race.
I mean,
and
they
get
race.
quite competitive.
Yeah, they do.
It's just odd. And I guess that's why I'm so fascinated with the idea of this particular sport.
Yes.
It's such a different animal than what we have seen from every other sport that we follow, because they all, well, granted, Formula One, they don't do refueling, but you use the same car throughout the entire course of this event.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? In NASCAR, you use the same car throughout the course of the entire event.
Yeah.
You change tires, you refuel, and that's all 3 levels of NASCAR. It's the same in IndyCar. You use the same car.
Yes.
You might bring 2 cars.
You don't get to change it.
But the only time you would change out the car is if you happen to have a major malfunction in practice and or qualifying and you had to go to the backup.
Yes, but if you have that during the race, you're done.
Yeah, that's called a DNF,
yes.
And you're out of luck. And
or you have it modified.
We've seen that too.